A Jiangshi, also known as a Chinese hopping vampire or zombie, is a type of reanimated corpse in Chinese legends and folklore. Jiangshi is read goeng-si in Cantonese, ki degree in Vietnamese, gangshi in Korean and kyonshī in Japanese. It is typically depicted as a stiff corpse dressed in official garments from the Qing Dynasty, and it moves around by hopping, with its arms outstretched. It kills living creatures to absorb their ki, or life force, usually at night, while in the day, it rests in a coffin or hides in dark places such as caves. Jiangshi legends have inspired a genre of Jiangshi films and literature in Hong Kong and East Asia. Genesis, the Qing Dynasty scholar Jiangshi mentioned in his book Yue Kor Tangji that the causes of a corpse being reanimated can be classified in either of two categories: a recently deceased person returning to life, or a corpse that has been buried for a long time but does not decompose. Some causes are described below: the use of supernatural arts to resurrect the dead. Spirit possession of a dead body. A corpse absorbs sufficient yang qi to return to life. A person's body is governed by 3 huns and 7 po. The Qing Dynasty scholar Yuan Meri wrote in his book Zai Buyu that a person's hun is good but his po is evil, his hun is intelligent but his po is foolish. The hun leaves his body after death but his po remains and takes control of the body, so the dead person becomes a jiangshi. The dead person is not buried even after a funeral has been held. The corpse comes to life after it is struck by a bolt of lightning, or when a pregnant cat leaps across the coffin. When a person's soul fails to leave the deceased's body, due to improper death, suicide, or just wanting to cause trouble, a person injured by a jiangshi is infected with the jiangshi virus, and gradually changes into a jiangshi over time, as seen in the Mr. Vampire films. Appearance. Generally, a jiangshi's appearance can range from unremarkable to horrifying. The Chinese character for jiang in jiangshi literally means hard, or stiff. It is believed that the jiangshi is so stiff that it cannot bend its limbs and body, so it has to move around by hopping while keeping its arms stretched out for mobility. Jiangshi are depicted in popular culture to have a paper talisman attached onto and hanging off the forehead in portrait orientation, and wear a uniform coat-like robe and round-top tall-rimmed hat characteristic of a mandarin. A peculiar feature is its greenish-white skin. One theory is that this is derived from fungus or mold growing on corpses. It is said to have long white hair all over its head and may behave like animals. The influence of Western vampire stories brought the blood-sucking aspect to the Chinese myth in more modern times in combination with the concept of the hungry ghost, though traditionally they feed off solely the qi of a living individual for sustenance and in order to grow more powerful. Methods and items used to counter jiangshis. Mirrors. Li Shihen's medical book Beng Kao Gang mentioned, a mirror is the essence of liquid metal. It is dark on the external but bright inside. Jiangshis are also said to be terrified of their own reflections. Items made of wood from a peach tree. The Jinku Swishy Ji mentioned, peach is the essence of the 5 elements. It can subjugate evil auras and deter evil spirits. A rooster's call. Yuan Meri's book Zai Buyu mentioned, evil spirits withdraw when they hear a rooster's call, because the rooster's call usually occurs with the rise of the sun. Jujube seeds. Zai Buyu mentioned, nail 7 jujube seeds into the acupuncture points on the back of a corpse. Fire. Zai Buyu mentioned, when set on fire, the sound of crackling flames, blood rushes forth and bones cry. Hoofs of a black donkey, mentioned in Zhang Mu's fantasy novel Ghost Blows Out the Light. Vinegar, mentioned by coroners in Eastern Fujian, Bargoasine, I Ching, Tongshu, glutinous rice, rice chaff, adzuki beans, hand bell, thread stained with black ink, blood of a black dog, stone mason's awl, axe, broom. Origin stories. A supposed source of the Jiangshi stories come from the folk practice of transporting a corpse over 1,000 li. The relatives of a person who died far away from home could not afford vehicles to have the deceased person's body transported home for burial, so they would hire a Taoist priest to conduct a ritual to reanimate the dead person and teach him how to hop their way home. the priests would transport the corpses only at night and would ring bells to notify others in the vicinity of their presence because it was considered bad luck for a living person to set eyes upon a Jiangshi. This practice, also called Xiangxi Gangshi, was popular in Xiangxi, where many people left their hometown to work elsewhere. After they died, their bodies were transported back to their hometown because it was believed that their souls would feel homesick if they were buried somewhere unfamiliar to them. The corpses would be arranged upright in single file and be tied to long bamboo rods on the sides, while two men would carry the ends of the rods on their shoulders and walk. When the bamboo flexed up and down, the corpses appeared to be hopping in unison when viewed from a distance away. Two oral accounts of transporting corpses are included in Liao Yiwu's The Corpse Walker. One account describes how corpses would be transported by a two-man team. One would carry the corpse on his back with a large robe covering both of them and a mourning mask on top. The other man would walk ahead with a lantern and warn his companion about obstacles ahead of him. The lantern was used as a visual guide for the corpse carrier to follow since they could not see with the robe covering them. It is speculated in the accounts in the book that corpses would be carried at night to avoid contact with people and the cooler air would be more suitable to transporting bodies. Some speculate that the stories about Jiangshi were originally made up by smugglers who disguised their illegal activities as corpse transportation and wanted to scare off law enforcement officers. Popular culture. Because it usually takes decades for an unattended resentful corpse to become a Jiangshi, they are usually depicted wearing attire identified with a previous era, and since these films are usually set in modern China or Hong Kong, the closest previous era would be the Qing Dynasty. Their modern visual depiction as horrific Qing officials may have been derived by the anti-Manchu or anti-Qing sentiments of the Han Chinese population during the Qing dynasty, as the officials were viewed as bloodthirsty creatures with little regard for humanity. It is also the conventional wisdom of feng shui in Chinese architecture that a threshold, a piece of wood approximately 15 centimeters high, be installed along the width of the door at the bottom to prevent a Jiangshi from entering the household. See also. References